This video covers the in-depth matter between the people versus Captain Morgan. During this video, you will see receipts, tea, unexplanatory, dramatic events, and of course, bullshit. Captain Morgan has now been exposed with receipts.
Hey y'all, my receipt video is finally here and ready, finally. I mapped out an entire timeline, even for myself, so this video will indeed have like video chapters and timestamps to make it easier for you guys to follow along and everything. And so like a map out of like that same timeline will be like in the comments in the description to hopefully make this video easier for you guys to, you know, see like all the stuff that happened and went down. Also, before I continue into this video, you know, I've been needing to give you guys another really important detail. There are also going to be a few, like a couple of Easter eggs in this video, because while going over all this stuff, I was like, ooh, I need to cross my T's and dot my I's in a couple of places. And as of right now, like as we speak, I've already done that. And so you guys will find that out later on in the video. However, I'm going to give you guys a bit of context. So you all know in my streams that I've been doing, I mentioned how I had an order of protection against my ex when he started this case against me, right? So remember, I was served the day after Christmas, right? So when the case started up, I forget what day we were in court in January. But I know that I ended up getting my order of protection granted. All I know is it was before my birthday, and it lasted for 3 weeks. So that has to be, let's just say anywhere between like the 21st to like the 31st of January. Right, so that's when it, you know, was thrown out, because the emergency order of protection or whatever was granted and then it was thrown out once the case started up or whatever, right? And so even though they wanted us to exchange the baby and all of that stuff, that wasn't necessarily mentioned, because the thing that was immediately mentioned was mediation after the January date. Mind you, paternity had not been established or anything, so technically they do mediation if like paternity is established. They do that more for like divorced couples and stuff like that. It's really odd that this went straight into mediation first off, and our first mediation date was in early March. Because the order of protection was thrown out, I actually did end up holding on to my child until mediation, because you know what? I forgot to tell you guys, I ended up calling the mediator and telling her that my ex is abusive, I'm worried. So just like how I told you all that in court in January, I told all these people, I told all of them, oh well, that's their frequency, but I told them, I literally told everybody, I was like, this is post-separation abuse. I was like, I'm afraid that he's going to escalate this case. I'm like, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. And I mean, we see where we're at today. But I told them. And I will say that the mediator, she was probably one of the most understanding people in this case, probably a lot more understanding than the guardian. The guardian's a man too, by the way. I'm just saying. Men aren't, they lack emotional depth. They lack like emotional understanding and intelligence. And so they don't really understand, you know, how imperative it is for a child to have proper development and stuff like that, and the nurturing from the mother. A lot of men like don't know or care about what women go through as postpartum, and a lot of men also. I'm not saying the guardian is like this, but he's a man. And it's a lot of men in this case, I'm just saying, and the judge is a woman or whatever, but it's a lot of men. I mean, you have my ex, you have this attorney who's a man, you have the guardian who's a man, and then you have my family member who's a woman. It's just like, it's just a lot. But these men don't understand things. And also too, when abuse, a lot of men, like I do believe, and I'll say this, I believe that the guardian only believes that abuse is real if it's physical. I believe that the guardian doesn't, I don't know if he doesn't understand or if he I don't know if he's privy to emotional and psychological like abuse and manipulation, but either way, shout out to the mediator. I really appreciate her. I enjoyed working with her when I did. So long story short, when I called her like almost immediately. I probably called her like a week or two after they threw out my order of protection, and I said, hey, you know, my ex is abusive. I don't really want to have contact. And mind you, when I got my order of protection and it was granted in January, this is when my dad had already cut contact with my ex, because my ex was like, you know, talking all that shit during the exchanges, similar to how my ex was like talking to the ex-friend about how he couldn't wait to get his weapons back and fuck me up and all that shit, like all of that. So like, you know, talking shit to my dad, and it's like during the holidays, dude. I had just dropped the order of protection just so, you know, he could have access to the baby and do exchanges, but my ex like never knew how to act. And like this whole like weird ass thing happened with like my diaper bag, where my dad claims that he brought the diaper bag with, but my ex never brought it back. And then he was like bitching about the diaper bag. My ex, not my dad, was like bitching about the diaper bag. See, I have my own diaper bag. It was just stupid and just dramatic. And I'm just like, dude, you have the diaper bag, whatever. I don't know. He probably gave it to one of his friends who was like more in need for it, because it was like my fake Birkin. Like, I remember my fake Birkin, right? That I used to like, you know, troll and like play with on my channel and my Instagram. I turned that into like, you know, my diaper bag because, you know, bougie mom, whatever. So he probably gave it to one of his like, you know, friends who probably needed it more than me. So, you know, enjoy. But yeah, so that happened, and then like my dad got tired of his shit, and you know, then my dad, you know, stopped being a liaison. So I didn't even have anybody anymore who wanted to go in between. And all of my friends and all of my family like were straight. Like after like what happened with my ex-friend and, you know, what happened with my dad, like no one on my side really wants anything to do with my ex, and thinks that this whole thing is just absolutely disgusting, and everything that he's done with the baby and all that. Like everyone just finds him very gross, and I don't blame them. Everybody's entitled to their own thoughts, beliefs, and their own frequency, right? So I'm just like, yeah, all right. So it was pretty high conflict. So I did call the mediator, and I told her, I was like, he's abusive. I don't feel comfortable exchanging my baby right now. And so can I just like, you know, hold on till I speak to you? And she was like, yeah. She's like, because by the time, you know, we all sit down, we're probably going to do some type of a parenting time or like a visitation thing anyway. So this is where that whole, you know, parenting time phrase or whatever, this is where that comes from. It's in regards to visitation, right? And it can shift and it can fluctuate. It doesn't necessarily mean, it can play into custodial and allocation of right orders, but it doesn't necessarily mean that within itself. It's just simply scheduling in time, you know, with the child, right? And so that's what I ended up doing. And so I will say though, when we did, you know, meet with the mediator and everything, my ex like demanded a week. He was like acting the plum fool even there, and he was just like, he was kind of acting like how he did at the pediatrician's actually. Ooh. I don't know, I might have to go live. We might have to talk again. I don't know. I'm trying to just do this video for y'all, and y'all know I'd be like thinking or whatever. I promise I'll like, you know, do this the best I can. I just want to give you guys context and give you guys, because the mediation thing is actually really important, because obviously I, you know, held on to the baby until mediation. So that would be, you know, January to March. That would be about 2.5 months, right? If you see where I'm going. And so that in mediation, my ex demanded a week. And so I was like, okay, cool. You know, we can do a week. We can do it at this location, whatever. Now, about this time period, and I'm already having this looked at. At this time, my baby, I had already, you know, scheduled to have my baby do the updated shots for, you know, March over, because remember I missed the second mediation, right? That's why we have a guardian, because I missed the second mediation because I took my baby to his appointment or whatever, and for the shots or whatever. And so I had to reschedule that, because at first it was scheduled for like early March, but I didn't want to like miss too much court, obviously. So I was like, okay, whatever, I can take the baby to this, and if they have a question or an issue, I can just tell them. Mind you, I was still representing myself pro se though, so. But I took my baby to the updated shots appointment, like I think that was March 18th, right? And I think that was when the second mediation happened. It was supposed to happen in person, and I didn't make it because obviously I took my baby to the appointment. But then of course, because I did not make that appointment, I believe that may have counted against me, because then the next court date, I believe, from what I've seen, I could be wrong, because mind you, I ended up getting sick in April. The next court date after that 18th mediation was indeed the 28th date. But I could be wrong about that, because I'm not sure, because I do know that I showed up to court one day in early April. In fact, I think I actually showed up on April 8th, the same day that I called my nurse and my doctor when I was dealing with like the whole fever and stuff, and they told me that I didn't have to be in that day. And I think that that April 8th date, we didn't have an official date yet. And then that follow-up was the 28th, and I wasn't aware until I got that email. But I believe perhaps that might have been the original, because it was the mediator who gave us that April 8th date, but that ended up being wrong, because I texted my ex about that. And like, I can show you guys that text, that he didn't know about that date either, right? So yeah, long story short, I'm mentioning the mediation and what happened there because him withholding the baby, especially through this guardian ad litem stuff, it could, now this is a theory, right? This is, you know, but it could be honestly a form of retaliation or whatever. However, you don't play games with a child. You know, I mean, it takes a sick person to like weaponize a child, because all it does is hurt the baby, right? And this is also what's interesting. So my baby wasn't having many development issues, or at least from between my reports with the pediatricians and my reports with Kids Above All for the development stuff that we do or whatever, the baby was doing fine. My last updates were late March from both. And this is what's interesting. So let's just go ahead and do the timeline, because I can go ahead and I can get into all of that now, and I can break all of that stuff down for you guys. So, okay, it's April. So April 2nd is actually when I exchanged the baby for drop off for another week with my ex. And then I set him all up and everything with what he would need to take the baby to the doctor on April 5th, right? And when he took the baby to this appointment, he took the baby with his friend's mom. His friend's mom, who he's been showing up steadily like with, because I guess when he's at work, she's actually the one raising the child. So the child is actually not around actual blood relatives or even remotely close family, because that is not a paternal aunt. It would take a simple blood test to know that. That is his friend's mom, okay? And so the baby is literally just being raised. I mean, kudos. I mean, you know, good luck with that. But the baby's just honestly, essentially being raised by a stranger. I mean, I know that she's considered family to him or whatever, but it's a much more different environment than being raised by actual family. I mean, that should be common sense, right? And then mind you, she's the mother of that like enabling house where he gets like super messed up at. So I can only imagine, you know, his drinking habits nowadays, because now with her being all close up in the mix between both houses, everybody's probably just getting messed up like all the time, right? And that's a concern, right? So I'm just saying. So then on the 7th of April, I had my light spotting and my bleeding the night before. And then when I woke up on the 8th, I had heavy bleeding. I was dizzy, all that. I had my fever and all that. And that's when I called my nurse and the doc and all of that. And, you know, my note was, you know, imprinted in my chart, right? And so you guys know that on the 9th, I was scheduled to pick up my baby, but I wasn't feeling well, and I told you all that, and so I let him know that I wasn't feeling well. And then, you know, on the 10th, I told my ex, like, hey, thanks for keeping the baby. I'll let you know, you know. And then I was like, just going through it. On the 12th of April, I ended up going to urgent care, but then urgent care just said irregular menstrual bleeding. So I had to follow up back with my doctor. So I figured I would just go ahead and, you know, go to my appointment, go to my like follow-up like on the 28th of April, right? And then on the 16th of April, that's when my ex last checks in and wants to know if he'll still have the baby through Easter. Mind you, I'm not even in the app during this time period. I'm dealing with like my bleeding. I'm dealing with like the on and off fevers. My cycle does start up like, I think, I don't know, I'll show you all the tracker. I think it started up like that following week or whatever. And you guys see April is wild. I know I have some of the notes or whatever highlighted for you guys because like, you know, I use the P tracker app with like the little flower, as you guys can see. So like the little gray dot notes or whatever, they, you know, they don't show up that well. I hope they're showing up well for you guys. I mean, you all can zoom in. I don't really care what y'all do with this video. I'm just doing it for context, and I'm also doing this to cover my own behind and expose this man with receipts, because absolutely not. And yeah, so we just do that. And so mind you, not only is the 28th like my follow-up, but that is also when my ex files the motion for default through his attorney, right? Mind you, I'm still representing myself pro se. So I'm seeing this stuff in my email, because remember when I told you guys in one of my streams is that when you are representing yourself pro se, the attorneys and all that, they talk to you. So you get all of that correspondence. You all know I cannot show court paperwork or anything of that nature in this video. So, and obviously I'm telling the truth, like whatever. But I remember the dates that I received certain stuff. Like literally, like my email just lines up with all of this. So you know what I mean? Like, you know, the right people who want to know. I mean, it's really easy to prove, right? I'm just giving you all as much context as I can. And so essentially what happened after, you know, I told him that I wasn't feeling well and I was like following up about my health or whatever. And I'm just really scared, just like super going through it, whatever. And then, cause even the 28th, I still had some bleeding. I mean, you all know I still had bleeding even through Mother's Day, like another heavy cycle had started up around that time. And that's why for me, it was important to still have the best Mother's Day that I could, despite what was going on with my health, and hopefully having that clear up. So I could reach out in time and, you know, see my baby, because it had been so many like weeks. It had pretty much been like almost a month, pretty much, since I had seen my baby. And even though like I did not want to tell my ex at all what was going on with me, and a part of me really thanks God that I didn't. I know that people may have mixed opinions or feelings about it, but in my position, like, I thank God that I didn't, because it could have been a lot worse, right? And I could have been in a worse situation. And I do value the fact that, you know, things have started positively turning around, and, you know, now we have this 26th date, but that shit was scary. And my ex has beyond proven himself as, like, you know, less than trustworthy, right? And so with that being said, I'm really, really grateful that I did not tell him in detail, especially because I did not know exactly what was going on until the 28th, which was, and even then they suspected that they might have been dissolving, but it wasn't necessarily official yet. They were just suspecting because a few had dissolved. Mind you, I was scheduled for a follow-up appointment in June, which I did attend, and it was in June when they scheduled like my future Dopplers, right? So I was in the process of still figuring all this out on the side of him, like, you know, withholding the baby. So what happened was, you know, my ex pretty much cut contact from the app after checking in around the 16th, and then 12 days later he tried to default the case on the 28th. And so when I started reaching back out, you know, around Mother's Day and like through like early to mid-May, he just was like not in contact. So that's when I, you know, contacted his attorney and everything. So let me go ahead and give you, oh yeah, May 11th, you know, I realized that he had cut contact and I had reached out and all that stuff. And then he checked the default on April 28th. Also, when I was going through my notes and everything, I need to let you all know something that happened on May 15th, because going through all my stuff, I just caught this. So as if, you know, dropped the baby off and never returned was bad enough. Mind you, this development program, okay, that my ex enrolled the baby in, he enrolled the baby in that program on May 15th. Mind you, that slight motor delay diagnosis happened on April 5th. I don't know why he wanted to wait a month and a half to enroll the baby in that program, because by May 15th, I was already reaching out. And I had already reached out to the attorney too around then, right? I hadn't heard anything, right? So yeah, and then you'll see that in my emails. Another thing as well, as if drop the baby off and never returned was like, you know, bad enough. My ex told this program when enrolling the baby in it that the baby had been living with him for the past several months. It's May 15th when he says this. We were exchanging the baby up until early April, and then I got sick. So that's a lie. So he lied to this program again. So as of right now, as we speak, you know, unfortunately, I mean, it's just so unfortunate that he had to go and spin that narrative. As of right now, in this speak in real time, by the time you guys are watching this video back, I have already reached out and emailed the development lady that works with my child at my ex's house, and I gave her my doctor's note. I showed her the text exchange to where when I reached out and when my ex denied, and I also attached the parenting time order with the next upcoming court date, just to inform her and give her the truth of the scenario, so that she can no longer be manipulated or confused, because it's just really unfortunate that she was to begin with. I mean, once again, it's another woman. I don't know what it is with my ex and women. I really don't. This man has an issue, but it's okay. I already cleared it up. And so by the time I'm editing this video, you guys will see that. So yeah. I had to, you know what I mean? I had to do the right thing, you know, she has to know. So I've already went ahead and took care of that. So, you know, we're grateful. And then, yeah, I noticed that he lied and said that the baby had been living with him for the past months and everything. And I'm just like, that's inaccurate. So definitely go ahead and clear that up for Girly. And so then May 19th, I texted, emailed again, spoke to the ex's attorney. Attorney said, you know, reach out to the ex, whatever. I called him and all that stuff. May 21st, that's when I filed that police report about the withholding. And then that's when we rolled by my ex's place to see if he would give me the baby and everything. And the ex denied the baby. Cop gave me his phone number, T, okay? And so then I also followed up a police report with the Chicago Police Department too as well. Because my ex is like in the suburbs or whatever, so I wanted to cover my butt both ways, which, you know, I always do. May 30th, that is when the following court date happened, and that is when I showed up. The judge asked my ex's attorney if he still wanted to default. He said no, because he had spoke to me and suggested that instead of doing mediation again, he just wanted to go ahead and get a guardian. And so that's when they drew the order up for the guardian. And so it was on that order. Now, I know that I can't show court paperwork, so once again, you guys are just gonna have to take my word for it. It was on that order, because I received that order like late that night, and it wasn't finalized until about June 2nd or 3rd, I believe. So I received, because mind you, I'm still pro se. So I saw this, and I have it in my email and everything. The draft order for the guardian shows that my child's address is with my ex instead of me. Mind you, at this time, this is the only document where this says this, right? and then my documentation shows otherwise, right? Because obviously I've always had my child. And also too, it says guardian, something around the lines of like guardian administered like July 15th. Now, July 15th is past my baby and my ex's birthday. And so pretty much what ensued is like, obviously I missed my child's birthday. But my ex, remember, he was texting me on May 30th as well saying, oh, I've been advised by my attorney to withhold the baby until the guardian is, you know, administered to the case. Now, the thing about that is, it said July 15th, but the guardian had actually filed his appearance June 4th. Because June 4th, that's, mind you, I'm still receiving all of the paperwork from the attorneys and everything. And then when I was speaking with my family member and, you know, talking about all this stuff that was going on with this case, she filed her appearance on June 9th. So remember when I told you all in one of my streams that my attorney and the guardian had gotten on the case around the same time? That's what I meant, right? So I noticed that, and I thought that that was really, really interesting. And then even June 2nd, again, the attorney, that's when the attorney told me even again that he'd follow up my request with my ex, and I have that email, or whatever. Like, I'm not going to show his attorney's emails or whatever, but I have it. Like, the attorney kept telling me that he, you know, reach out and let my ex know all of these things. This is why I don't necessarily believe the attorney told my ex to withhold the baby. Also, mind you, let's just go ahead and get something clear. You know how I held on to the child and I actually called the mediator and let her know that this is what I was doing because of my ex's abusive behavior, and, you know, my dad no longer wanted to be a liaison, and I didn't feel comfortable exchanging the baby because that's why I had my whole order of protection in the first place, etc., right? I actually called her and let her know. Now, if there is, you know, any concern for the child or whatever, there would have been an order, right? Mind you, when I met with the guardian, there was nothing that he told me in regards to me not being able to see the baby. If anything, it's the guardian who helped me see my child again. Also, too, when this order happened, my ex also lied to the guardian and told the guardian that my child had been living over there with him this entire time. And that's just not the case. Now, the guardian does have all my baby's medical stuff and with my information on it or whatever. And there, I have some tea, unfortunately, there, because my ex has pulled more mess or whatever. But in a situation like this, there was never an order. Like, mind you, the whole drop the baby off and never to be seen or heard from again, never return, is just preposterous. There was never, like, a girl, no, y'all know how I am about this. There was never a police report. There was never a CPS report. It drives me crazy. This part of the case, like, drives me insane. Because it's like, how do you say that on paper? Girl, okay, girl, how do you, never to be seen or heard from me, never return. Okay, all right, no police report, no nothing, just try to default a case and lie to a guardian and lie to a development program and pediatricians. All right, fantastic, absolutely amazing. This is why we have receipts. Seriously, I can't. The only times in cases when they actually do inform, you know, other parties to hold on to the child is if there's an actual order in place, or if you do talk to someone or whatever, and, you know, all of that's discussed. Now, when mediation happened, you know, the mediator, because when she talks to both of us, she knew, and she mentioned in the mediation that she was aware of me holding on to my child during that time and what my concerns were. Because what they do is they talk to you both at the same time, and then they separate you guys, and then they talk to you guys separately, right? So, but it was already brought up. Essentially what I'm saying is there was nothing ever, like, firmly in place preventing me from my child. Unfortunately, my ex tried to finesse a bunch of things and manipulate a bunch of things to make it seem like the baby had been living with him the entire time, when that wasn't the case, and that never has been the case, right? And now, unfortunately, due to his withholding and everything, you all know that unfortunately recently my baby has been diagnosed with behavioral health due to trauma after being withheld for the past few months, because pretty much my baby was like snatched up out of his routine and all of that. Like, it's not like he ever had a routine with my ex. It's not like he ever had a way of life. I mean, my ex's friend is over there pretty much raising him, and she's like an older lady. I mean, I'm grateful to her. That's super cute and fine. But all the baby has over there is like his development program that he does like, what, once a week. And this older woman who's like already raised all her kids, who's not even family. And my ex is like an angry alcoholic who works like 12 hours a day. It breaks my heart for my child too. Trust. All right. So yeah. And then that happens. So then, yeah, the guardian appears on the case on the 4th of June. Then, you know, my attorney appears on the 9th of June. And then I have my follow-up doctor's appointment with the bleeding on the 24th to schedule my following Dopplers or whatever. And so then that happens. And, you know, in the meantime, during like June and July, I'm pretty much taking care of things like legally the best I can on my end. I met with the gal in July on my child's birthday, and that's when I let him know, I'm like, there's no reason for me to be missing my child's birthday. My child was withheld, he told me the documents sent to him, and essentially, like I told you all, like, when I spoke with the gal's only concerns for me are, what am I doing right now as far as like work or whatever, and what my future plans were. And I told him about, you know, me starting school soon in the fall, getting my real estate license, moving, etc. And of course, the pack and play though. Literally. That's all that man said to me, okay? I offered him more of my doctor stuff. I've been on top of my doctor stuff or whatever. He said he understood. He said that wouldn't be necessary or whatever, because I already did give him, I think I gave him at least a couple of my doctor's notes. I can't remember if I screenshotted my appointments for him. I know I screenshotted the baby's appointments for him or whatever, because he wanted me to give him all the baby stuff. And oh yeah, so I can tell you guys this now, since we're already going over July and we're about to be in August for the recent antics, right? So remember when I told you guys that the guardian wanted me to give him all the baby stuff so he could be updated or whatever, and he told me that he didn't, you know, want me to change the baby's, like, you know, information. Like, I was like, yeah, I still want to be able to take my baby to the appointments, and he didn't even contest that at all, right? Well, my ex has gone ahead and preemptively put the child on his insurance now, and also put his information on the baby stuff at this last appointment, August 6th. Now, I'm not too worried about this for a couple of reasons. One, my baby's still covered under me. Two, the pediatrician still talked to me. Three, my ex's antics at the doctor's. And I don't want to say too much, but I am going to say this. Perhaps that right now in the moment, it's actually a good thing that it's my ex's information in their system right now, even though I'm, you know, whatever, due to his antics. And that's all I'm gonna say. Okay? All right, cool. Super cute. So, yeah. Then July 15th was court. I reunited with my baby finally on the 18th. And then on July 25th, that was my first Doppler appointment for the doc or whatever. And it was both external and internal. Okay, and so then the month of August. August 4th, that's when I got word that my ex was sending my channel to the guardian. And I'm just like, okay, I welcome this frequency. And now we have videos like this. Amazing. And several streams. Enjoy. Okay? The 6th, my ex crashes out at the baby's appointment. The 7th, my ex calls and harasses kids above all. On the 11th, he called and harassed because above all again. And then in present day, I am just here living my best life. And I was able to film this damn receipt video as a damn feature film. And I am proud of myself. Yes. And that's where we're at, y'all. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. And so the 26th is when we go over some of this stuff and the concerns. And this is just laying out everything. Yeah. This is where we're at. Unfortunately. Or fortunately. Whatever. I figured I would just lay all this stuff out. You know, another thing too, I want to connect this video with my stream. What is it? Let's discuss the withholding, because these two pretty much coincide. I mean, pretty much all my streams coincide, but girl, they've been like hours long, and I get it. Like, cause some of y'all are still catching up, and then I know those of you who have channels are still like, you know, sifting through all that stuff, and you know, whatever. Enjoy. You know, I'm just here living in truth, speaking truth, whatever. Just living in my frequency vibe. And I told y'all I was going to expose this man. And I've been on top of everything that he's done. And this is where we're at. He's made a lot of moves. And he's trying his best to lie and manipulate. But I've been right there to clear it up because I refuse. But I am looking forward to the 26th date and everything. And we'll see. We'll see.
Expose. Expose, 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 expose. You're exposed. You're exposed. You are exposed. Expose, 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 expose. You are exposed, sir. I'm gonna expose you. Expose you. Oh my God, expose you. Expose, expose. It's time for some exposure. Some exposure.